Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast, hosted by #basketball.com, your home for the very best fantasy basketball tools and articles on the internet. Go check them out. #basketball.com. I'm your host, Mike Catron, and joining me is the man who predicted all this madness, Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
Michael, could it get crazier? I think it might. It could happen.
Listen, the trade deadline is not over yet. It is already heating up. Tyler, you predicted this. You're on the money this year, and I think it's going to get even crazier.
Well, we've seen some teams go to blow up mode, and we could see a couple more go full blow up mode and just get rid of everyone. And that is usually when things get extra wild because if the Grizzlies are committed to trade Gasol, they might go full blow up mode and trade like Mike Conley and Garrett Temple and literally not have much left. And for fantasy, that's exciting because that gives us a whole plethora of new guys that are going to have a lot of increased potential and a bigger role and more shots, more points, more rebounds, more assists, more everything. So you got to like that.
Yeah, and like now is the perfect time for all this to happen because you are either fighting for a playoff spot or trying to solidify your run in the playoffs. And or in Roto, you are fighting for the categories that you have the most chance of gaining points in, or trading guys away to players who could lose, who could pass other players, and the whole game within the game when it comes to Roto leagues, which is much more interesting. But this is the perfect time for all this to happen because all these different players become more valuable, and it could really change the landscape of an entire league. And we could see Marc Gasol. It sounds like he's going to be leaving Memphis, but what's going on with the rest of the Grizzlies? What's going on with the rest of the Wizards? What's going on with the rest of the Miami Heat? Also, there's this whole Lakers Anthony Davis thing going on. So I think tomorrow it's going to be pretty crazy. But we have plenty to talk about tonight, Tyler. And let's get right into it. And let's start with the most completely pointless trade. Let's just get them out of the way. Let's start at the bottom, and we'll get to the real meat and bones at the later half of this podcast.
Meat and bones doesn't make any sense, right? Like you get to the meat of it because that's the stuff you want to eat. The bones is the part you throw away. So that would be like the crap that you're saying right now.
No, the bones is the best part. You get that marrow inside the bones. You cook it up. It's very nice. It's the delicacy on top. But let's talk about the most pointless trade here. Malachi Richardson is going from the Raptors to the Trailblazers. Do you care? Excuse me, to the 76ers, not to the Trailblazers. I don't even know because it doesn't matter.
Malachi Richardson, if he plays another 10 minutes in the NBA, I'd be surprised.
All right, so nothing to see here. Let's get to the next trade then. We are looking at a three-way trade. Alec Burks is going to Portland. That's who I was thinking of. Along with a second-round pick. The Rockets get Iman Shumpert, Nick Stauskas, and Wade Baldwin. And the Cavs get Brandon Knight and Marquise Chris, plus a lottery-protected first-round pick from Houston. A lot of fringe players here. Not sure there's a ton of fantasy value here, but I'm kind of looking heavy at the fact that Marquise Chris, a decent fantasy player, is going to a team that has a lot of minutes left over for him to play.
They do and they don't, right? Like they have Larry Nance. They have some guys in that front court that they're going to play. Unless they move Tristan Thompson, he's probably still going to play some minutes. Marquise Chris has shown that he can be a valuable fantasy player. It's really going to come down to a question of how many minutes and how can he stay out of foul trouble? Can he not be a little bit of a goofball? Those are all things that we've not been able to see him do quite yet in his NBA career, but I guess there's a first time for everything.
Yeah, if you look at his, even if you look at his per 36 minutes, it's like you're getting a guy who's decent at blocks and decent at rebounds and hits the occasional three. And it's like that in 33, 34 minutes could be standard league relevant. But he has basically played almost 0 minutes in Houston, a team that you think would be able to find some minutes for him. So to me, this whole trade, like Stauskas for some threes, Iman Shumpert, like I don't know really who's benefiting out of this trade.
I could see Shumpert and Brooks each playing like that wing roll off the bench, playing 15 to 25 minutes a game, and in a deeper league, that's probably useful to you. In a standard league, that's probably something you don't want.
Yeah, I think that's this is more of a deeper league trade. I think you are going to get some more minutes that come the Alec Burks way, probably Stauskas way, and I think definitely Marquise Chris's way. So in your deeper leagues, go check them out. Let's get to the next one. This one now we're getting into what Tyler calls the meats, and I call the meats and bones. The Kings are trading Justin Jackson and Zach Randolph for Harrison Barnes. What a return for Justin Jackson and Zach Randolph.
Yeah, I mean, people forget, I guess, that Barnes, now granted the Mavs weren't that good, but Barnes scored 19 points a game each of the last 2 seasons. Like, Barnes is a good player, and Barnes is not a great fantasy option in the sense that he doesn't give you a lot other than points and three-pointers, but he's been shooting the three ball really well this season, and the Mavs basically wanted to make this move to get out of his $25 million player option for next season, but it was a pretty weak return, and you got to think Barnes is going to play big minutes, and the report is the Kings want to keep him long term. He's going to play, 32, 33 minutes a game probably on that Sacramento team, and he's going to do what he does.
Yeah, I would expect very similar production out of Harrison Barnes in Sacramento. Does it hurt anybody on Sacramento particularly when he shows up and starts playing 33 minutes?
Well, I mean, that's kind of where their big hole has been all season, right? They don't really have anyone who can play that kind of 3-4 combo spot. And then I talked about that even last year when I wrote about them a lot, that's basically the type of player they needed. They needed a combo forward. That they didn't really have one on the roster, right? That they're playing most of the minutes at small forward. They're playing someone like Bogdanovich or Buddy Hield. And, at the power forward, there's kind of all big guys, right? They're all really probably guys best suited to be a center that are kind of sliding up and playing power forward. And that problem got even worse with Harry Giles and Marvin Bagley coming in. And to the fray this year is like they have all those guys are modern NBA centers for the most part. There are a few teams that still play the Andre Drummond type where you can play, two really big guys against those types. But I think Harrison Barnes is going to fit in them well there and play a ton of minutes. And, some of those guys are going to lose a minute or two each, and it'll be interesting to see how the front court rotation shakes out. The Kings could be in line to make another trade. Really what they need to do is move a big man, and maybe they can find a taker for someone like Willie Cauley-Stein. It'll be interesting to see as the deadline gets a little closer.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Bielitsa and perhaps Marvin Bagley. Their minutes will probably take a little bit of a hit to fit Harrison Barnes in at that 4 spot. Bogdanovich maybe a little, but I feel like he's more of a smaller wing, and he could play well with Fox Hield and Barnes with Willie Cauley-Stein at the 4. I think for the Mavs, it's a future move, right? They're now in the free agency market this summer if they want to attract somebody with Porzingis and Doncic on their team, which is to me a fairly attractive team to want to play with. If you were someone like I don't know, maybe your name is Anthony Davis or Kevin Durant, or maybe your name is Klay Thompson. Sounds like a fun team to be on.
Yeah, and more than anything, they wanted the $25 million to fill the rest of the roster too. They feel like they've got some rotation pieces and guys like Jalen Brunson and Dorian Finney-Smith, but they know that they're still a couple pieces away from really truly contending with those two, and so you got to have some flexibility to make those moves. And it wasn't that they didn't love Barnes; it was just they felt like Barnes wasn't the piece that was going to push them, deep into being title contenders, right? That Barnes was more of a piece that was going to keep them as fringe playoff contenders. And that's not what they want. They want to push hard, especially when Doncic is on his rookie deal. So, it'll be interesting. The Mavs are going to be players for anybody and everybody, and they could be making some crazy deals to open up the cap space to get somebody, or they could be making some deals for some just more rotation-y type pieces and trying to fit and make the best team around Porzingis and Doncic, which, that's a possibility too. That's 2 superstars already, and we've seen 2 superstars be able to win a championship.
That's true. And I'm just interested to see where Jackson fits on this team. I'm not sure that makes his fantasy value any more relevant. My guess is it's about as relevant or less relevant moving forward for the rest of the year.
He's just not a good fantasy option in the sense that like he doesn't give you a lot of assists, he doesn't give you a lot of rebounds, he doesn't give you a lot of steals, he doesn't give you a lot of blocks, and he doesn't really score that much. So there's not really a lot for fantasy, unfortunately, for Justin Jackson.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see Zach Randolph and Dirk play at the same time. That would be really, really cool. I hope they just do that for fun in Dallas. I'm looking forward to that.
I could see the Mavs giving him a couple of swan song games.
Yeah, why not?
Right, like fun. I don't think anyone's going to sign him. He's 37 years old after the season. I don't think anyone's going to sign him. So I could see them just giving him a couple games and being like, "Hey man, here's your last run. Enjoy it."
All right, we have breaking news, Tyler. This is how crazy stuff is going on right here. Wesley Johnson is headed to Washington for Markieff Morris. That is pretty shocking. I think Markieff Morris complicates things on the Pelicans, right?
Is Markieff healthy? Because he has not been
that healthy this year.
But he has not been playing for the last, two weeks, right? Am I wrong about that? Did he just come back recently here? And I missed that? I don't believe he's playing yet.
I don't know. Is it official? Has he officially moved?
But
I don't think he is not back, so he might just be a non-factor.
But what I think you're seeing more than anything is Washington is totally blowing it up. We heard that John Wall's second injury, right? He tore his Achilles when he fell at home. That means he's out basically all of next season too, right? Like it takes a full year to recover from an Achilles, and for someone who relies on their explosiveness as much as John Wall, it may never be the same for Johnny Wall. They owe him a ton of money over the next 3 years. It'll be really interesting to see what Washington tries to do there. It'll be interesting to see if Washington tries to move Bradley Beal now and totally blow this thing up. I don't really know. They've obviously traded away two pieces, and we're going to talk about another deal. They've traded away two basically of their starters for this year. Could they just hit the total reset button? They're another team on that list of, tomorrow could be a really interesting day for them. And I think tomorrow we're going to talk more about, because they're probably going to make more moves, even if they're smaller moves. So we're going to be talking about resetting their whole roster and rotation tomorrow. Probably.
Well, I think, we're going to definitely be talking about Washington, because I think they are going to have to make a decision here. Like, it's kind of messed up. The Gilbert Arenas got him last decade, and John Wall's going to get him this decade with albatross contracts that, the injuries really destroyed a very, very good, both of those guys were very, very good when they were in their prime. So it's kind of a curse there in Washington. But this kind of leads into the next question. We're going to talk about another trade that Washington made tonight. Basically tonight, yeah. The Wizards are sending Otto Porter to the Chicago Bulls for Bobby Portis and the fattest man on the Bulls, Jabari Parker. Other than, I guess, Jim Boylan's probably the fattest man on the Bulls. Bobby Portis and Jabari Parker are on their way, and their expiring contracts are on the way to the Wizards. I guess along with whoever's coming from the Pelicans. I already forgot who it was. It is Wesley Johnson, and that is, to me, probably this is, now we're talking real full significant standard league relevancy. Otto Porter basically coming onto a team that is in desperate need of legitimately anybody with talent. Lauri Markkanen and Zach LaVine playing around him. Otto Porter is probably the best all-around player on this squad, other than maybe Lauri Markkanen. And Otto Porter is going to get a ton of play in Chicago. So let's talk about Chicago and Otto Porter's role there.
So I am maybe more interested to see what Otto Porter can produce than anybody we saw traded today. For this one simple reason. We've seen Otto Porter be a very efficient player, right? But he's always had either John Wall or Bradley Beal feeding him the ball. And say what you want about Bradley Beal, I think Bradley Beal is a very underrated playmaker. So I think he's always had someone who's a really good scorer and a really rather efficient scorer, or efficient at getting him the ball in the spots where he's very good. It's one reason we've seen him shoot very, very good percentages in basically his whole career. Now it's down to 45.7% this season, and a lot of that may be due to John Wall not playing that much with Otto Porter this season. Now he's going to go to a Bulls team with, fair to say, no one who can feed him the ball. I mean, Chris Dunn is
passable, right? Like he is at least average in the NBA.
But is Bradley Beal right now a better playmaker than Chris Dunn?
I think yes. If you had to pull my teeth.
So we've obviously also never really seen Otto Porter take a big role as far as like shots, getting a lot of shots up. So you got to think he's going to get more shots in Chicago. He's probably going to be less efficient. He's probably going to be less efficient than he's ever been for the Bulls.
But he's, so he's never been given the reins to a team, right? He's never been given the, here, take him. He's never had to. And occasionally, just very, very occasionally, he has taken over games, but mostly he just kind of sits back and stands in the corner and shoots threes. And I think this is kind of like you're saying, make or break for Otto Porter. He is either going to thrive or, as I'm guessing, being on a really, really terrible team, he is going to be the one guy that the other team guards, and all the pressure is going to be on him. And I actually, I think, like you're saying, the field goal percentage is going to go down. He's going to try to do too much, and that's not a role he's ever had to play. Therefore, I don't feel like he's going to be very comfortable playing it for the rest of the season.
Well, and Les talked about part, and we talk about this with role players a lot, is how much if he really becomes the guy who takes the offense on his back, how much does that hurt his defensive numbers, right? I mean, we're talking about a guy who averages basically a steal and a half a game and half a block with like 6 rebounds. Does him having to do more on the offensive end affect those defensive numbers? And that's a possibility too. So I'm really interested to see what Otto Porter can produce. I think it's definitely going to be less efficiency. We could see him basically score more points than he's ever scored, right? His career high is 14.7 points a game. I would not be surprised to see him score over 15 points a game in Chicago, but that could also affect the defensive numbers. So I definitely am keeping a close eye on Otto Porter's production over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I think if you want to take a stab at it, right? He's played 29 minutes a game this season, and those minutes are going to go up because the Bulls are a trash heap, and Ryan Arcidiacono has been playing 25 minutes a game. So I think Otto Porter will find plenty of minutes here. And when you look at it, something very standard, hey, minutes mean more production. More production means better fantasy stats. Sure, Otto Porter is a little bit different because he does everything good, but nothing great. And if you see a drop in efficiency, that you can start to see, and he's going to the line more. He's still only shooting 76%. You can see some of those things drop. So it's like overall ranking might drop a little bit more, but I think you're right. Where you'll see a little bit more points here and there, maybe a rebound or two. So overall, what's the net gain of that? I'm not really sure you're going to get a huge net gain. So be aware that you might see those percentages drop for more, stats across the board, which might be exactly what you want from Otto Porter.
Yeah, fair. And I would say it's very difficult to predict because we're going to see Otto Porter in a new role. You mentioned we're seeing him in a role he's never played before. So predicting his stat line would be very, very difficult at this moment.
So this is even harder to predict. What is going to happen with Bobby Portis, Jabari Parker, and I guess now Jeff Green is the number one option on the Washington Wizards now?
Well, Bradley Beal is still there, right? And until Bradley Beal gets traded, those guys are all role players, right? Around Bradley Beal. You got to think Portis is going to play. I wouldn't be surprised if Jabari Parker plays too. They're clearly not in the game to win games right now. I mean, making these trades is not making them a better team. So, maybe Bradley Beal is definitely the guy I got my eye on as the deadline approaches, man. Because we talk about Bradley Beal and he's on a long-term deal, and the Wizards didn't have a lot of flexibility before they made these couple trades as far as future signings. I think Bradley Beal's a really good player. Bradley Beal's a really underrated player. Bradley Beal's still only 25 years old. He's a very young player. If the Wizards trade him away, they're obviously going full tank mode, and they're probably making a mistake unless they can get a pretty good haul back. It'll be really interesting to see, and maybe we should save our thoughts on the other players until then. I will say this. We've seen Bobby Portis be fantasy-friendly per minute, so if Bobby Portis can get the minutes, that might be good for fantasy. And Jabari Parker can score a lot of points. He might not play a lick of defense, but the dude can score a lot of points if he gets the minutes. So if you need points and you're looking for somebody, especially in a deeper league where you can take a flyer on, man, maybe that's not the worst thing, especially, if we see, for whatever reason, Jabari Parker being the number one option on the Wizards down the stretch.
Yeah, I like the fact that if they're tanking, that Jabari Parker will see quite a few minutes. And I also like the fact that I think I don't know. That's going to be tough. If they're going to go with Jeff Green or Bobby Portis, if you need to take a flyer, Bobby Portis is the guy to take a flyer on. He, per minute, like you're saying, he scores, he gets rebounds, he hits threes. He's better than Jeff Green per minute. So if you thought Jeff Green was an option, Bobby Portis is a better risk to take, in my opinion, because he's just a better fantasy player.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, too. Like, those guys might be shipped out in, one-for-one deals for something else. You know what I mean? Like, so if you get traded, you can only be traded in a one-for-one trade. You know what I mean? If they feel like they can save more money, they might try to ship out those guys. The Wizards are a team that I would say pretty much anything's in play at this moment.
I think so. So we'll have to put kind of a stamp on that one until we find out what's actually going to happen in Washington. Make sure you follow the Twitter accounts, which is basically literally all of NBA Twitter right now. You'll probably find out, but obviously Sham and Woj will tell us what is going to happen, just like they have all day today, including the fact that Phoenix is sending Ryan Anderson to the Miami Heat for Tyler Johnson and Wayne Ellington, of which, for some reason, Phoenix is going to waive Wayne Ellington.
What do you mean for some
possibly
reason?
The better player?
Because if there's one thing Phoenix doesn't need, it's another damn wing. They
can trade him,
I guess, but they're looking at that contract as unfavorable, I guess, and they want
Tyler Johnson's contract's not unfavorable.
Well, I mean, that's the whole reason Miami made the deal, right? As for salary relief.
Oh yeah,
you got to think like they along with the Wizards are in cap hell, so they're trying to make some deals to get out of it. And this trade doesn't make a ton of fantasy relevance for anybody. I don't know that Tyler Johnson really plays that much.
Yeah, do you think that Tyler Johnson's minutes go from 25 to 30 plus right now that he's in Phoenix? And
Phoenix just I get why they're waiving Wayne Ellington in the sense that they want to play Josh Jackson, they want to play Mikal Bridges, they want to play, their guys that they've drafted. Wayne Ellington probably finds his way to a contender, and especially in a deeper league, if you need 3-pointers, that dude can hit 3-pointers in 15 or 20 minutes. He can get you like 3-pointers a game. Yeah,
Wayne Ellington has some streaming fantasy value relevancy. So if he's going to be playing, that'd be great. If he's going to go to a team where those 3-pointers might matter, like let's say the LA Lakers, that also might matter as well. So I'd keep an eye on where Wayne Ellington goes here once he is waived by the Phoenix Suns for some strange reason. All right, Tyler, there's been a lot of trades. But the blockbuster trade, which was actually the first trade that showed up, and you kind of called it, the trades that we hear. I think you said this in an episode or two ago. The trades that end up happening are the trades you aren't hearing about, and I don't think anybody was hearing about this trade.
Thon Maker? Is it Thon Maker?
Oh, yes, it is. It is. I forgot. I completely forgot.
Oh, Reggie Bullock. It's
Thon Maker.
It's Reggie Bullock going to the Lakers. Is that the one?
No, I don't care about Reggie Bullock going to the Lakers. Is actually Thon Maker with who is it? Stanley Johnson?
Yes,
that kind of switch is a little. I'm interested to see what happens.
What we
not from a
done.
fantasy point, but I'm interested to see what if Thon Maker ends up being like playing 30 minutes a game. That'd be interesting.
And I hope someone tweets him about this because I'm pretty sure that both are two of Kyle McEwen's favorite players. So I hope somebody has been tweeting Kyle McEwen today, making sure he's all right, asking him about his two favorite players, asking him what he thinks about the trades, all that. He's a real good guy. So I'm hoping the best for both of his favorite players.
Definitely get after Kyle McEwen about this Thon Maker Stanley Johnson trade. Let him know exactly how you feel about it. That it is the blockbuster of the trade deadline. I'm going to be watching Thon Maker in this, but I'm not giving anybody any advice when it comes to either one of those players because I don't really feel like any advice needs to be given. Nothing has changed, in my opinion, of how what their production is going to be like. Tyler, I'm actually talking about the Tobias Harris, Boban, and Mike Scott. What? Who cares about Mike Scott? For Wilson Chandler and Mike Muscala and Landry Shamet, plus a couple of first rounders. That means Tobias Harris is going to be not just playing, but starting on the 76ers, and that the Clippers are kind of punting for the season.
Is it surprising though? Like it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be surprising.
No, this is great. This actually should have set the market. And then you look at what Otto Porter went for, and Harrison Barnes went for, and the rest of these guys. Like this is way above market price for Tobias Harris, who is, like we've talked about all year long, is younger than you think he is, and is playing better than you think he is. He is legitimately an all-star. And Tobias Harris is like, what, 25?
Yes, Tobias Harris is younger than all the men you mentioned, and that also drives up the price. And the Clippers did really good here. I think the Clippers, they did well for themselves in the sense that, they got some assets back, which is good. And
if we could give a sell high award, the Clippers would win it this season.
Right. And that Philly team is super interesting now, right? Because you got Joel Embiid, you got Ben Simmons, you got Jimmy Butler, you got Tobias Harris. Their depth is questionable at best. You know what I mean? But they've got a really fun starting five now.
True.
And
they do have an interesting starting five. Like, I'm excited. I think that, they're gonna give teams a run for their money in the playoffs because they now are like way more versatile on offense.
Yeah, and it's actually probably a really bad move for Tobias Harris's fantasy value in the sense that not everybody on the team can score 20 points a game. They have JJ Redick still who's going to score. Tobias Harris probably settles into that kind of third, fourth option, and that sees his production go down to what we've seen in the past, right, where he's probably averaging more like 16, 17, 18 points a game. Getting like 5 rebounds a game instead of 8 rebounds a game, getting like 2 assists instead of 3 assists and things like that. So, Tobias Harris is probably the big loser in this trade as far as production goes.
Yeah, he's probably, we've been talking about how he's a sell high candidate, and now it's like, this is why. He was playing the best basketball he was probably going to be playing, and he was playing great. And he probably would have played this well for the rest of the season. But now you're looking at a team with a lot of mouths to feed, and you'll probably see basically the usage for everybody on this team get kind of chipped away just a little bit in order to satisfy everybody who needs the ball in their hands.
Does Coach Brett Brown go full Tibbs mode though?
37 minutes a game for the starters. Nobody else plays.
Because, look at the bench.
TJ McConnell, Boban. I bet you Boban sees some minutes. Everybody's going to love Boban in Philly.
But Boban is very much a matchups man, right? Like, he cannot play against certain teams. He just can't.
It's true.
So it's going to be super interesting to see what Philly does here because literally they got a fun, really exciting starting five and their bench. They might be calling you, Mike, to suit up tomorrow to play off the bench. I hope so.
I can use the money. Like, that would be great.
And here's the other thing,
I'm
too.
Available.
Unless they dip into the pick they do have a lot of picks still, even after this trade. Unless they dip into that, like, how are they going to acquire someone? They traded away their best asset, Landry Shamet, that they're going to be willing to trade to get Tobias Harris.
Well, when someone of Tobias Harris's usage leaves the team, as he has just left the Clippers, that opens up some playing time for somebody on this team. Wilson Chandler is, still out injured. I'm not sure how much more Wilson Chandler has in him. Who is going to be taking up not just the minutes, but the usage, the shots from Tobias Harris on the Clippers? Could be a little bit of Lou Williams time.
That's what I mean. We could be in line for another Lou Williams ball out. We saw Lou Williams pretty much all of last season when the Clippers were very injured. Ball out, do some crazy stuff. I would think he's definitely going to see an uptick. I think the Clippers are going to go a little smaller now. They're going to basically focus on the young guys. They maybe finally play Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that 30 minutes I've been speaking about. They've still got a glut of guards, and I think maybe that they just use Tobias Harris's spot at the small forward to play that glut of guards a little bit more. It'll be really interesting to see. Landry Shamet's going to play minutes, man. I think that they got him to be a future piece of the team, and so he's got to play some. The Clippers are definitely a team to keep your eye on. Who's taking the shots, who's getting the minutes. I've definitely got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander circled. I got Landry Shamet circled as two guys I'm definitely looking at as a potential pickups.
Yeah, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been one of our, waiver wire standards. Like he's good enough. He's a little up and down. He's sometimes he's playing well, sometimes he's playing like trash. But this should solidify his role.
Here's the thing too. Like I think per minute he's playing very well. I think it's just he really hasn't been getting the minutes, and now maybe that does happen. We look at his per 36 numbers, which obviously he's probably not going to play 36, but he might play 32 or 33, given the right situation. You go talking 3.8 rebounds, 4.1 assists, 1.5 steals, 0.8 blocks, 14 points. That's a pretty juicy fantasy stat line right there. So, you got to hope if you're a fantasy player for more minutes for SGA. Will they come? Only Doc Rivers can answer that question.
Yeah, and I hope they do. I think it also gives a little bump, like we were saying, to Lou Williams. And I think Montrezl Harrell probably sees the ball in his hand a little bit more. I would think, his minutes might go up just a tad.
So can you answer?
So that's nice.
Me a strange question, Mike, because I got a strange question. You're never going to see this coming. Okay, you ready for this?
This is good. All right, I'm ready.
For some reason, Basketball Reference, if you know how like you can click on a player and then like on the right hand side of the screen it says like whatever team they're on, like 2018-19 Clippers. If you're on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's page, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, and then like you bring down the little tab and it brings out the other team's roster. For some reason, on the 2018-2019 Clippers, Carlos Delfino is on there. Carlos Delfino. Now, some of you might not remember this man.
Why? Yeah, I mean the name. Like I can't even recall the last time he played.
Age 36, a man from Argentina. I believe he played with some Manu Ginobili on some of those very good Argentine national teams.
Yeah.
Last played in the NBA at age 30 in 2012, 2013.
Wow, that is later than I thought it was, but that is actually
not
a very
sure
long
why
time ago.
He's member of the 2018-2019 Clippers, according to Basketball Reference, but perhaps someone at Basketball Reference is listening to this and might want to remove him because I do not believe he's a member of the Clippers in 2018-2019.
I hope he's not, but
unless they have
on the coaching staff.
Well, or maybe they have some sort of like strange cap situation where like he signed a long-term deal somehow. And
yeah, maybe they're like paying off his contract 9 years down the road or something.
All right, I gotta look this up now.
It was
go ahead.
Maybe it was one of the stretch provisions, perhaps.
All right, let's see here.
That's very strange. But,
yes, that is it. He has a dead cap hit of $650,000 from 2014, 2015, all the way till this season is the very last one.
Wow.
So for 5 straight seasons, he has cost them $650,000.
Keep getting them checks. Respect to Delfino.
about it. So there, we both learned something new. They used the stretch provision on him in 2014.
Actually on the roster in 2019.
So that is very strange. August 29th, 2014, they stretched him.
I love it. I absolutely love it. That is your really, really deep fact of the evening. Thank you, Tyler. That is all the obviously the major trades, but and all the minor trades too that we got to today. And I think there's going to be quite a few, at least a couple tomorrow. So we'll be back with more, but you should be following us on Twitter for our instant reactions at Watch the Boxes. You can find Tyler at Tyler P. Watts. Or if you want to get podcasts like this before the general public, go to patreon.com/watchingtheboxes and subscribe to it. Become a Patreon. You'll help support the show, and you can basically have a direct contact with Tyler and I to help direct the show with feedback on how you want the show to go, what kind of topics you want us to talk about, etc. So go check out patreon.com/watchingtheboxes. Tyler, do you have anything else to plug? Anything else going on?
If you want to still hear more, or you want to catch up on the Kristaps Porzingis trade to the Mavericks, you can head over to thesmokingcuban.com and you can get tons of analysis and insight, including coming up in the next couple days, 5 reasons why Kristaps Porzingis is going to make a significant impact on the Dallas Mavericks.
Wow, that is probably riveting, Tyler. I'm actually really excited to see Kristaps Porzingis play for the Dallas Mavericks. I wish. It is very sad to hear that he is able to play and he will not be playing. That it really, really hurts some of my fantasy teams. I am not happy about it. But, I guess when you look, I'd rather see Kristaps and Doncic play for many years to come instead of just having a few more fantasy points for this season.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see them say that he's, relatively healthy. Like, what does that even mean? I'm assuming, if he could play, they would play him at least a few games this season. Because I think that stuff matters more just for confidence and, peace of mind for the player. So, this injury's taken a little longer to heal than everyone thought. And we talked about it with the Kings, how, the Kings medical staff decided to take a route of strengthening, the muscles in Harry Giles' leg a little bit more to hopefully prevent that from happening again. And the Mavericks are often credited with having one of the best medical staffs in the league. So I think that they're putting together a plan to hopefully keep Porzingis a little healthier long-term. Even taking the ACL tear out of it, like Porzingis has never been super healthy for the Knicks. He's missed, 5, 10, 15 games every season. So perhaps the Mavericks know something the Knicks don't in that department. And maybe he's just never going to be that healthy. So it'd be interesting to follow that storyline as well.
Definitely. You could definitely find all that stuff being plugged and a lot of it being written by Tyler P. Watts on Twitter. Thank you, Tyler. And I'm sure there will be plenty of trade talk to get to tomorrow, and we will see you then. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We appreciate you out there. And happy trade deadline.